Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your leadership on this. And it's so important for us to get FAA reauthorization done, and this is an important hearing on that path. Also, thank you to Ranking Member Cruz for helping with this hearing as well. Coming out of the pandemic, our aviation system faces a lot of challenges. Yet, when considering the future of American civil aviation, success or failure may ride on whether we're able to dramatically strengthen our nation's aviation workforce over the next 5 years. Without a properly trained, equipped, and compensated workforce, the safety of the flying public will be put at risk, and the delays we've experienced over the past few years will seem mild by comparison. As a pilot, I want to reiterate my strong support for the post-Colgan air safety reforms, especially the 1,500-hour rule, and express strong opposition to any proposal that would weaken safety standards in a misguided effort to address workforce challenges. As Captain Sully Sullenberger recently noted, if we were trying to increase the number of physicians serving rural areas, we wouldn't dream of cutting the length of medical school from 4 years to 2 years for doctors who serve those communities. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to place a copy of Captain Sully's March 2nd, 2023 op-ed from the Chicago Tribune into the hearing record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Captain Sullenberger's voice rightly carries a significant weight in safety debates, and his name is associated with the miracle on the Hudson. But in the context of the 1,500-hour rule, it's worth highlighting two additional figures, 20,000 and 208, that demonstrate why Captain Sullenberger's heroics were less a miracle and more a reflection of why hard-earned pilot skills and experience is so important. On that fateful day in January, Captain Sullenberger and his first officer had a mere 208 seconds between losing thrust and landing in the Hudson River. Fortunately for the 155 passengers on board, both Captain Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles had an accrued 20,000 hours of flight time prior to that extreme emergency each. Their combined 40,000 hours of actual flight time contributed to their swift and coordinated response. Of course, safety does not begin or end in the air. We must also make safety our top priority for flight attendants, gate agents, and other frontline aviation workers. The number of unruly passengers reports came down in 2022 from an all-time peak, but they remain too high. There were nearly 2,500 unruly passenger reports last year alone. A few weeks ago, a passenger on board a United Airlines flight from Los Angeles to Boston tried to stab a flight attendant with a metal handle of a broken spoon. A year ago, a Southwest Airlines passenger was arrested for assaulting a gate agent in Atlanta after his behavior on board the aircraft during taxiing forced the aircraft to return to the gate. Such abuse is disgusting, disgraceful, and must end. Madam Chair, I would like to ask unanimous consent to place a copy of a statement of the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, prepared for this hearing into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We must also ensure that our supply of aviation workers keeps pace with increasing demand, especially for pilots and mechanics. A recent study projected that the supply gap of aviation mechanics in North America could reach more than 40,000 over the next 4 years. The study also estimates that up to 35% of the current aviation mechanic workforce is already between 55 and 64 years old. Having just turned 55 last week, I don't think that's that old, but you know. In the 2018 FAA reauthorization bill, Congress established an aviation workforce development grant program at the FAA to enhance public investments in institutions that train future pilots and mechanics. Measured by demand alone, our program has been a smashing success. In fiscal year 2021 alone, applicants sought a total of $121 million in grant funding. Unfortunately, measured against our goal, strengthening our aviation workforce, the actual grant funding amount of $10 million failed to meet the real-world demand of $121 million. Fortunately, there is strong bipartisan support for dramatically boosting investments in programs that seek to train our nation's next generation of pilots and mechanics. For example, together with my subcommittee ranking member, Senator Moran, we developed and introduced a bipartisan Aviation Workforce Development Enhancement Act late last year. Our legislation would triple investments in grants that support efforts to train pilots and mechanics, while creating a new grant for programs that train aviation manufacturing technical workers. Senator Klobuchar, Thune, and Kelly and Fisher have also developed bipartisan proposals that seek to increase and broaden aviation workforce investments. I am optimistic that working together in a bipartisan way, we will craft a proposal that combines the best elements of our respective bipartisan bills to ensure the forthcoming FAA reauthorization will empower our nation's civil aviation system to build a strong pipeline of pilots and mechanics over the next 5 years. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about what Congress can do to strengthen our aviation workforce. Thank you,